I'm Jonathan. You seem to have all sort of introduced yourselves to each other already, but so basically we're here to do a brief mindfulness meditation, then a guided meditation, where we're going to be creating a feeling and projecting into different areas of our lives, and then we're going to have a discussion based on the meditation, and then we'll do a very brief guided meditation just to reaffirm positive destinations that we set once we've sort of gone into what's held us back from really feeling that positive feeling in all areas of our lives. So before that, we're going to do introductions, which you've already sort of done, but I'm Jonathan. I'm a life guide, speaker, author, and I do things like this, and I do mainly personal development guidance, career guidance, relationship guidance, one-on-one and in groups, things like that. So, yeah.
My name is Stephen. I live out in Lynbrook, Long Island. That's all.
I'm Hein. I love to come here.
Tanya. I'm Shani.
Hi, Shani. Hi. I'm Karen, and I'm a social worker by profession, and I've been in the healing arts for over 35 years. So, that's it.
Very good. So let's do a brief mindfulness meditation. We're going to, just for 3 to 5 minutes, we're just going to breathe. We're just going to focus on our breathing. Pay attention to the air as it flows past your nostrils or the rise and fall of your chest as you breathe. And whenever you notice your mind wander, you notice sounds or thoughts or feelings or whatever, just notice where it's wandered to, acknowledge that, and bring your attention back to your breathing. And we'll just do that for 3 to 5 minutes, and then we're going to go right from there into the guided meditation. You can close your eyes. It's easier to stay focused on your breathing if your eyes are closed, and then we can stay present, just breathing. you're still in this calmer place, imagine you're getting into bed tonight, reflecting on the day, feeling like today was a really good day. You got a lot out of today. Perhaps you got a lot out of this event, other aspects of your day also. Feeling very satisfied and very content, more present, more aware. Perhaps you feel more in control of your life, understand better how it all is working, have greater clarity about the direction that you're going as you're getting into bed tonight. Now, go back to a time in your life when you felt powerful. It doesn't matter how far you have to go back. It could be yesterday or a few years ago, or when you were a child. Go as far back as you need to a time when you felt powerful. Pay attention to what that feels like in your body. Perhaps it's like a sort of vibration of energy all over your body. This groundedness, sense of being in control of your life. Feeling strong. Feeling like everything is exactly as you'd like it to be. Exactly as it should be. That it is. And it is all good as it is. Perfect as it is. Complete harmony between what you want and what you are experiencing. as you focus on that feeling of being powerful, project that forward into your present experience and your future experience in the coming days and weeks and months. And imagine feeling powerful when it comes to your body and your health. Imagine feeling that resonating energy all over your body, that feeling of being in control, effortlessly, when it comes to your body and your health. And now imagine that feeling of being powerful when it comes to your living situation, your living environment. Feeling in control and like everything is exactly as you'd want it to be, that you can make it everything you want it to be in the coming days and weeks and months. Now imagine feeling powerful in your career in the coming days and weeks and months. Feeling complete harmony between what you want and what is in your experience of your career. Aware that you can make it whatever you want. Seeing it become whatever you want. Experiencing it as perfect. Now imagine feeling powerful in your financial situation. Feeling like you're completely in control of it without having to control anything. is exactly what you want it to be, and that you can make it everything you want it to be in every moment. When it comes to your financial situation, and now imagine feeling powerful in your family. Feeling like you can make it whatever you want it to be in every moment. Like you're totally in control, effortlessly, without asserting any control. And now imagine feeling powerful in your community. In a group that you belong to. That you feel you belong to. Feel accepted in. Imagine feeling totally in control, effortlessly, having everything be what you want it to be in your community. Now imagine feeling powerful in your friendships, coming days and weeks and months. Feeling powerful in your close connections with others. They are exactly what you want them to be. They simply become that. Without you needing to exert any effort. You simply request what you want, and life accommodates Imagine feeling powerful in your relationship area of life. Experiencing things become exactly what you want them to be when it comes to a relationship with another person. Experiencing complete harmony between what you want and what you are experiencing. Imagine feeling powerful in every area of your life. Waking up each day feeling powerful. Going throughout your day feeling like things simply become what you want them to be. Going to sleep feeling powerful. Ready to start another day. Experiencing that vibration of energy all over your body, that feeling of groundedness and presence and control without needing to assert any control. Simply requesting what you wish to experience and watching the world accommodate your requests. Bringing that feeling of being powerful with you, you can return back to this room whenever you're ready. Slowly open your eyes whenever you're ready. didn't say that, I would have just like stayed perfectly still. Would have been the easiest thing to do. So how's everyone feeling right now? So I'd love to hear some of your experiences. Basically what we were just doing, for those of you who haven't been here before, we all have our own internal GPS system, and whatever we focus on and rehearse in our minds is what plays out in our reality. We're inclined to take the right actions and so forth to make happen what we've already rehearsed happening. And whatever we give our energy to in our thoughts is the address that we're plugging into our GPS. Our feelings tell us whether that's a good destination or a bad destination to go to, whether it feels good or feels bad going there. And our feelings are also the fuel in the car that motivate us in that direction. And our wants, our instincts, our desires are the directions from the GPS telling us turn right, turn left, go straight, act on this opportunity, talk to this person. And if we listen to those directions, we will get to whatever address we've plugged in with our thoughts. And so ultimately, when we really get down to it, what we really want is always an experience. It's an internal experience. It's the feelings and thoughts we imagine we'll get from having something. So it's not a relationship that we want, or a job, or a certain amount of money, or a friendship, or a community. It's the experience we imagine we would have internally if we had those things. And ultimately, if we could create the experience internally that we want to have, because it's accessible to us in every moment if what we really want is just an internal experience, if we could create that internally, which we can, then we are actually going to take actions in accordance with having that experience already, which leads us to bring about the realities that we want in the physical world. So if you already imagine feeling powerful, then you end up inclined to do things that actually support you in feeling powerful. If you're already feeling powerless, then you're inclined to do things that support you in feeling powerless. And so what we were just doing, and what we've been doing in these meetups, is thinking of a time when we felt something positive and then using that feeling to project that into different areas of our lives, because even just stepping into that feeling is already making ourselves essentially a magnet for more experiences that will support that feeling, because we're going to be inclined toward different behaviors. We are inclined to talk to people in different ways, with different facial expressions and different body language, and with different words at different times that actually bring about reactions and responses that support us maintaining that feeling place. So obviously you can see, like, if you've just had a really bad day and you step out onto the street after a really bad day, suddenly you notice, like car horns honking and like people yelling at each other and music playing that you don't even like, and it's blasting, and then and then like someone, like, I don't know, there are puddles on the ground and it splashes you, and like it's just nothing seems to go your way. But it could be that exact same day. Nothing could change about the weather or anything. And if you just had a really good day, you step out onto that street, then you could suddenly notice the people who are smiling at each other and like seem like they're very much in love, and then the friends who are shaking hands as they're sort of like the song, I see friends shaking hands, how do you do? I see people saying I love you. So I'll just like go on with the song, right? There's just like list more things. But anyway, suddenly everything seems like a wonderful world. It seems like that's the world we're living in, that everything is wonderful. And suddenly, like, someone smiles at you, and like, why are they smiling? Well, because now you're smiling. Suddenly you've changed the situation. You're no longer looking all disgruntled and upset with your day, where people reflect that back and respond to you accordingly and sort of try to ignore you or get upset at you because of the way you're looking at them or not looking at them. Now suddenly people are responding to the fact that you're smiling and you seem like you're in a good place, and so people smile back and someone catches your eyes, and you think maybe they seem like a friendly person, and just the fact that you caught their gaze, like, that makes you feel even better. And so that could be the exact same day, with nothing changed except that you felt different when you stepped onto that scene. And then you create all these different circumstances because you felt different, and it leads you to respond to the world differently, leads you to initiate something different, which leads the world to respond to you differently, which leads you to respond differently. And so then it just builds on itself. You keep getting more things that support you in being where you are internally, and then you keep responding in ways that support the world responding to you in ways that will keep you in that place, good or bad. So if we were to remember this, that the world doesn't just happen to us, we decide how we feel, how whatever we initiate is going to be reflected back. That's what the world responds to. So ultimately this meditation, the idea was to show you what we could be doing all the time. We could just decide to think of a time when we felt positive, remember that, bring that into our day. Instead of thinking, well, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, so I'm just going to let the day go badly, to decide, you know what, I'm going to change that. I'd like the day to go well. Yeah.
I want to expand around that. When it's happened to all of us, we say we have a bad day. Actually, what happened, we have 60 to 90 seconds, something that happened to us, but we rehearse that the whole day. When we stop that, I mean, it's not a bad day, now we save the day.
It's true.
Get off memories.
And ultimately, then ideally, we would notice what we're rehearsing, and then we'd say, you know what? I'd like it to happen differently. What if this happens instead? And this is a very powerful thing. What if?
It's not what if. Take something good that happened to you and try to play with that. You can play with that for a long time. We're not trained, we're not built to do that. We just stop after 2, 3 attempts to expand it, we just stop. We're not accustomed to that.
Well, because the negative is something that we're inclined to rehearse so that we can figure out how to avoid it. The positive, there's no reason to avoid it, so we think of it and it's done. Ultimately, life is like riding a bike. When you look at the pole that you don't want to crash into, then you're inclined to crash into the pole. So ideally, we would acknowledge the pole and decide where we want to go instead and look there. And that's true about everything. So if we're thinking of something that's negative, it doesn't help to focus on what's negative, because then that stirs up all these negative feelings. That's what we're rehearsing. And then we end up creating the very scenarios that we're trying to avoid, just like crashing into the pole. Or that we're trying to fix, or that we're trying to change, or we don't like how we were treated, so we really feel like we need to change how people are treating us. Meanwhile, we're treating ourselves pretty terribly by rehashing all the ways that we don't feel good and why we don't feel good. That's not treating ourselves well. We certainly wouldn't do that to a friend we wanted to treat well. We wouldn't keep, sharing with them all this negative information that we want to get them to really think about so that they can avoid it, because ultimately then we're going to make them feel bad. We wouldn't do that to a friend. So why would we do that to ourselves? It's not much of a friendly way of approaching ourselves. Same thing, you love someone, you wouldn't be bombarding them with negativity all the time. You wouldn't rehearse negative things over and over again, talking with them, because you wouldn't want to bring them down. If you were really, really caring about them, really wanted to bring them up. So why wouldn't we treat ourselves the way we would ideally be treating people we think we would feel really close to? We should be the people we're closest to, we ourselves. And so ideally we would treat ourselves as though we are people we love, as though we are our best friend, etc. And then ultimately we would focus on things that make us happy. Just like we'd want to raise up our best friends, raise up our significant others, we'd want to bring things to them that cheer them up. Ideally we would do that to ourselves all the time. And then think about how much easier it would be to bring that to the people in our lives, because suddenly we're in a better place. And so then we just bring that. We don't have to do anything. There's no work, there's no effort. Just like instead of looking at the pole where you have to force the wheel a different direction, it's this constant effort to go somewhere other than the pole as you're looking at the pole, because you're not giving any clear alternative, you're looking at the pole. So alternatively, you acknowledge the pole, decide where you want to go instead, and look there. So if we could do that in life, we say, I see what I'm replaying, what do I want instead? Where do I want to go instead? How could things happen instead? And then look there. There's never any reason to go back and replay the thing that you think you need to fix or change or whatever, just like there's no more reason to look at the pole once you've decided on an alternate route, because once you're looking at the open field off to the side, you never need to look at the pole again. The pole now has become the impetus for you deciding you want to go into the open field. So the pole has been considered in your looking at the open field. You don't need to look at the pole anymore. And this is true about everything negative in our lives, and yet in society we're so inclined to feel that it should be otherwise. But when it comes to certain things in life, you need to worry. You need to be stressed. You need to regret them. If you don't focus on them enough, how are you going to change them? But it never works. If you think about it, if you're trying to lose weight, then you end up you know, if you're doing it by sheer control, where you're focusing on how you're not where you want to be in your weight, then you might succeed in getting, you know, somewhere by sheer control. Be constant effort, constant stress. You have to be constantly on top of yourself, and you'll feel so controlled that at some point you'll rebel against your diet and rebel against your exercise routine, and then you're back where you started, because your anchor is in, I have weight to lose and I'm not happy with myself. Instead of your anchor being in, I'm happy with my body, let me let that pull me forward. I'd love to be happy with my body. I'd love to be happy about how I feel in my body. There's no rebelling against that. You can't rebel against, I would love to be there. You can rebel against, I have to do this to get there, but you can't rebel against, there's nothing to rebel against when you say, it would be so fantastic to feel good in my body. Or you say,
when it's come to lose weight, our mind working on a surviving mode all the time. We want to survive, so we do everything to stay where we are. And the mind, it don't like to think about losing. Well, let's say you lose your house key, what you do? You go to search for it. So when you say to yourself, I'm going to lose weight, you go and search for it.
Right.
When you give different message, which has been, hey, I want to go down in size. Now it's different message. You're not losing anything.
Yeah.
You just do different activity, which is mean what I have to do to make that happen.
Right. And it's interesting bringing that up, because with lose weight, obviously, why would we never want to lose anything. Like, lose is never a good thing. What?
I think this is very true.
Yeah.
These thoughts are very good.
Yeah. So it's, you know, ideally we would be gaining something, but then that doesn't sound good when it comes to weight. So it's interesting, because the way we think about weight, it's like we force ourselves into trying to think that the negative is positive and the positive is negative. You want to gain, you want to lose, you don't want to gain.
I'm gaining a better body.
Exactly. And that's how you want to start thinking about it. And that's how we're often not thinking about it when you're trying to lose weight. You think, I want to lose weight, I don't want to gain anything, but you really do want to gain something. You want to gain a body that you're happy with. And that's what you should be thinking about, because we usually want more things. We don't usually want less. So it's not really that you're losing, it's that you're getting what you want. And notice that that's true about everything. It's true about, you know, stepping out of a relationship that you're not happy with, stepping out of a job that you're not happy with, increasing your income. As weird as it sounds, you know, you sort of have to lose where you are when it comes to your income in order to get a greater income.
You're gaining.
But you're in this case, it's more obvious that you're gaining more money, but you're losing the identifications that you had when you thought of yourself as someone who has the income that you have. If you then become someone who has an income that's different. So in every situation, we're letting go of something, but we're not losing anything, because we're getting something that's much better than what we ever had. So if we were to think about the thing that we really want, that we want to step into, and we step into that, and we imagine that, just like we were doing in terms of feeling powerful, but then we take it another step, you actually imagine what it would be like to already be there. Because if you imagine what it would be like to already be there, then you step into the feelings, which is what we're talking about. It's not the body or the career or the money or the relationship that you want. It's the feeling of being where you want to be. When you are in that place, you know, so you imagine, what would it be like to already be there? How would I feel? What would I be thinking? What would my life be like? The more you step into that, the more you make that familiar. A big part of why we don't want to lose things is that we want to stick with what's comfortable. And what is familiar is what's comfortable, most often. No matter how uncomfortable it is. It could be terrible, but it's familiar.
I think a lot of people have a fear of change.
Yes.
And I think fear is it's funny when you say that, because when I was meditating and I went back to a time where I felt more powerful, and I was very much in love, and all my fear disappeared. I felt extremely powerful. I had no fear. And people, I'd be meditating on the beach, and I swear to God, I would wake up from this meditation, and there'd be people sitting at my feet. Like I had something to tell them.
I can tell you why it's happening.
No, because I was clear. I was clear as a bell. I wasn't very grounded. Right. I'll be honest with you. I was not very, but I was clear as a bell. And there was no fear. And it was the first time in my life I had no fear of anything.
Right. I tell you why. We have a lot of crap in our life.
I'm sure. Everybody.
Now, when I say crap, it's an acronym.
What does it stand for?
The C stand for criticize. We criticize everything that came along. We know better. The R stand for resistance. We resisted any change that came along, and change came all the time. The A stand for anxiety. We edgy, we anxious when the change come. We have nowhere to go, right? The P, It's the full problem. Everything, it's a problem. We don't see it, it's any other way, only it's a problem. Now, when I say crap, this is a lot of people's life.
Yeah. It's true.
And notice that all that comes along when you look at what you don't want. You have criticism, then you have resistance, you have anxiety, and you have a problem. But if you look at what you do want instead, the crap is gone.
It disappears.
You can let go of it, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it disappears.
I think it's also like we hold on to certain beliefs that we're used to holding on to because we're afraid of change. And the beliefs just keep us in the control mode, and we're so afraid to let go of those beliefs because we're so accustomed to it. It's like keeping us in that safe zone. It's like, well, the only thing we really see what our awareness is about, and it's also about letting go of those beliefs.
And the belief play a big role in our life. We train to believe in what we see. To be achiever, you need to believe that you're going to see it. Which is when you see it before it's happened.
Right, exactly.
So I had something you said to me occurred something that struck a bell in me. Something that happened to me today. So I had every reason to wake up today and feel like a very dark day for me. But that's not my nature. Okay, it's not my nature to do that. And I went out this morning and I had to do some shopping for the house and get on the line. And as the person in front of me gets finished, the cashier on my line is closed. So I just gave her a smile, and I said, okay, and I went to go there, and she goes, oh, that was a nice smile, come over here, come on, I'll take you, the last person. So it depends upon your attitude and how you approach things, and it really does change your perspective.
And it changes the reality. Yeah,
it changes the reality.
Because when you have a different attitude, your perspective is different, and when your perspective is different, the reality actually changes. It's like Wayne Dyer says, although I don't think it came from him, he says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Right. I mean, we say that all the time. I want to avoid negative people. Matter of fact, there is no negative people. Yeah, there is, most of the people you can divide them into, there's majority of people, they know what they don't want. Yeah, when you know what you don't want, three things happen. You complain, you look someone to blame, and you have excuses. Yeah? When you know what you want, your mind wired different. Which is mean, how do I get there? What I have to do? Who I need to talk to? What road I need to take?
Right.
And there's few people that in that area. So you can say negative people. I mean, I don't want to see that. I don't want to be there. I don't want to have that.
Well, ideally, we would say I'd like to be surrounded by positive people.
And I can say that because
because it gets us thinking in that exactly.
Exactly. Which is mean they do. In my language, nobody fail, no one make mistake, and nobody do anything wrong. You just may do something that doesn't work. Don't call it any other name.
Right.
Now, when you do something, there is two ways to look at that. Either it's work or it doesn't work.
Right.
There is no in between.
And you learn from it. And if it doesn't work, it's a lesson. And if it does work, then it's a lesson.
If you don't learn from that, if you don't learn from that, nothing happens.
Exactly.
Right.
So ideally, we would
piggyback on that. Like I know, like there are people who are like, I want to avoid negative people. I want to avoid this. I want to avoid that. And what happens? They bring exactly what they want to avoid into their life, and they don't have what they want into their life because they're focusing on the negative.
Yeah. I was. No, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just want to take his word and fix it up.
Yeah.
The other opposite way, like park, you might say, even though the sea is, so peaceful attitude, relief, you might say, or religious, and thoughts, and to the creator. Give your relief, let it out, and bring it to the creator to include your attitude of how you should be. And by releasing your tension or what's on your mind and reaching out to the creator, it's a great relief. I don't know if you've ever tried it. I don't know if anyone's released religious.
This is the meditation.
Yes, I know, but I didn't hear about the creator. And the creator of all of us is there, and I think, and who's ever religion, but the creator loves all his creations.
You're assuming that everybody's religious or everybody
No, there's a creator.
Well,
no.
I don't assume. When you're assuming, this is the
as of you and me.
when you're assuming, 70% of the time you got it wrong. Because you're assuming according to your belief system.
Right.
Now we have 4 personality type. even the Bible talk about that. In Passover, it's the 4 kids. Everybody have different belief. So when you assume according to your belief system, which is, let's put it in perspective. If you're a visual person and I'm auditory, yeah, so I can hear what you see.
Right.
We have miscommunication. So when you do assumption for visual person. I'm auditory. It's
Right. But
Just
she's
pass me
saying
all.
that you can thank the Creator.
No, not just think. Give your relief to whatever's on your mind and bothering you. To ask the Creator
I
to
don't
bring
believe
in
in
that.
in a Creator.
Okay.
I'm the
So-
Creator.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
that's
so your
and that's,
creativity.
and that's what I would say. I would,
We have it in
Right.
us.
Your
That's
creativity.
right.
Whatever,
Well-
yeah.
well,
Like
ultimately-
mystical, almost like a mystical Christian.
if you look at the way that religion presents God, you know, like in Judaism, but this is in pretty much all the major faiths, Christianity as well. Like God is our Father, God is our King, and you know, in all the prayers, God is our Father, God is our King. We think of God this way in the prayers, and then you get to the next step in Judaism, in like David's Psalms, like God is our close friend or lover, that we can talk to God as like an equal, and then you take it another leap to like mysticism, to like Kabbalah or Christian mysticism, and then you're getting to God is actually not outside of us, that we should be looking outside of us for God. God is the highest part of us. And that if you look within, then you find God. If you look outside yourself, you're always searching for God.
I like that.
So you either can always be searching for God or you can find God.
And connecting. Actually, that's it could be
Connecting
connected.
to
Yes, because then you can
To God
connect
in yourself.
directly to
Connect,
God.
Yes.
connect,
Exactly.
right.
But what happens is,
That's the truth.
and then what you recognize,
For anyone.
then what you recognize at this point, when you've connected with the God within you, when you've connected with God directly through you, you realize that God is the highest part of you, then you realize that you become the listening friend or lover, you become the societal leader, the expert, the king to others, you become the protective parent to existence, to the world around you, that you become God to others, and people look through you to God. You become the sources of guidance and protection and expertise and everything else. And so,
Conduit.
because you're a conduit, exactly, and that's the key. To recognize that. So everyone's somewhere on this spectrum of recognizing that there is a creator of some sort. But when we get to the highest part, we realize we are that we are projections of God within this world, and then we can connect inward. Exactly.
But it's interesting because if you even take it to a further level, if you really get into that, then thoughts backed by emotion equal manifestation.
Yes.
And that is
That is
really
exactly
true.
what it is. Yes.
Thoughts backed by emotion equal manifestation.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've experienced
Yeah.
it. It's
Explain would you an example of that?
I lived in
whatever you think about, there is feeling attached into that.
You got to experience.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah?
experience it.
When you're feeling about something, that's what leads you to take action.
Yes.
Well, it's also what I was saying about the GPS. That the whole point, I didn't mean that like metaphorically. I meant that literally. That's actually the way the world works. If you were to take that a step further, what I was saying about the GPS can connect it to this idea, because ultimately it's like we have 3 parts of ourselves. We have the sort of male part, the female part, and the child part. Biologically, the male shares, the female receives, that manifests within herself something different from what she's received, and the child allows that interaction to take place through itself and sort of harmonizes that. So now if we think about it, the male is sort of the initiator, female is, in this case, there's the initiator, the responder, and the allower or harmonizer. Or the creator, the creation, and the result of the interaction between the two, sort of harmonizing of those. So when I say creator and creation, I don't just mean like metaphorically. I mean we are the creator and the creation and everything. That there is the creator projecting through us. We are the projection of the creator in this world, experiencing our creation from the perspective of the creation.
Partner.
But we are more than the partner, because we are the partner and we are the partner of the partner, because we are the creator. So like that God is not separate from us.
Right.
That when you really get down to it, there is only us. And I don't mean us. I mean like for me there's only me. For you there's only you. Because there is only creator and creation, and that's happening through you. That you are the sun and the earth, and your attention is the life-giving existence, the life-giving sunshine that gives rise to life on the earth. You are that whole paradigm, but now it's not just the sun and the earth, which is just a reflection of the reality. It is all of reality. You are the source and the creation. And it's all happening through you. And so there's a part of you that can look up to the creator and pray, and there's a part of you that can look down to your creation and thank it for providing you responses to your requests. And ultimately, then when you take it that like final step there, then you recognize that most of our interactions, ideally with ourselves, would be from the place of the creator interacting with our creation, because then we're really good creators. When we're but it's not from a place of looking at what we don't want and then ignoring our creation as we try to create something else. It would be working with our creation. It would be looking at what we do want and then allowing our creation, which is now like acting like a GPS, to guide us along. And then our thoughts, our feelings, our instincts, the responsive ones, will let us know how to get to the things that we initiated. So we say, I'd like to experience this. We rehearse it in our minds. We imagine it. And then we let ourselves be guided toward it by our creation. So from this perspective, it's actually we, the creator, can say, this is what I'd like to experience. Imagine it in your mind, rehearse it in your mind, where you're actually already creating it in a world before this one. And then your creation can say, I see that. We can make that happen. This is what you would need to do. If you do this right now, and then you talk to this person over here, and don't forget to go here because there's going to be someone there you don't know yet, but you're going to meet this person, and you just take the turn-by-turn directions, and you listen to your turn-by-turn directions from your creation, which is doing its best to accommodate you, the creator, jumping into your field of vision because it wants your attention, like messengers accommodating the king, like a spouse really wanting to please, her husband. Ultimately, that we would initiate, and then the whole world jumps to please us because it wants our attention, because our attention is existence itself. Now, obviously, when we look at what we don't want, we're actually, if we look at it from this perspective, you okay?
I have just having a cramp in my, what is this? No.
The,
Is that the
hamstring?
Yeah, hamstring. That's a hamstring.
Do you want to? Well, okay.
I
So
think it's just water.
well, everything is our creation communicating with us. So since that happened right then, what did that make you feel? What was your reaction to the cramp?
To what?
Let's just
cramp?
just play along with this for a moment.
I wanted to keep listening to you. I didn't want to get my attention away, and I was in pain, so I was trying to get the pain away. That's all.
So how have you been feeling like you've been trying to listen to yourself, but it seems like things have kept distracting you from what your main focus has been?
That's very interesting.
Because
that's really interesting. Because I've been saying, if I wake up every morning and I say I hate my job. I swear, I hate my job. No, I hate my job. And everyone's been telling me.
Do you do it while you stretch like this?
No, I'm just doing this to like, I played tennis this morning for a couple hours.
So it's funny because I was like starting to feel like, not numb, but like I'm sitting in one place. With the meditation, you're just like sitting.
Could you add some? Oh, you're not finished. Okay.
No, I'm finished. No, it's just very interesting. How have I not listened to myself? That people have been saying.
Where you've been making it almost painful.
Yeah, it is.
For yourself.
It's been.
See, what I'm saying is that's not metaphorical. That's literal.
Yes.
Our creation is communicating with us. Okay. When we initiate things, our creation responds. Mm-hmm. When I brought that up, because you were very obviously there was attention being drawn to this. The whole point was that you were responding to what I was saying. You were thinking about what I was saying, so you were initiating this as the creator, and then your creation was saying, okay, this is all great and well, but you've been making it painful to try to get your attention.
Right, that's true. That's very true.
No, we don't listen to our feeling. Our feeling talking to us the whole day long. We just don't give attention.
Right.
It's like we have these.
That's what keeps us get sick from time to time.
Right.
Because keep it in many times.
Because we haven't been listening.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't know how to release it.
Yes.
Exactly.
But I just have a thought. Do you want to?
We have like
just,
3 people. Well,
just to finish your thought before, when you focus on what you don't want, you just create more of what you don't want.
Right.
So,
Right. It's very true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is actually what I was about to say, is that it's blocking us from what we do want.
Yes.
That there is no bad. There's only the absence of good. Nothing radiates darkness. There are only things that radiate light.
We're just learning.
So we're learning how to reconnect with the fact that there is actually only good. There's a saying, like obviously in Judaism, that there are 2 inclinations: good inclination, bad inclination. Yitzhar Tov, Yitzhar Ra. That obviously it's also in Christianity that there's some kind of God and there's some kind of devil, some kind of Satan. It's like we've taken to another level. That now it's like there's actually a force in the world of evil. That there's this saying in I think it was a Native American story of a grandfather's telling his grandson that there are 2 wolves within every one of us, and they are always fighting. And there's one wolf that represents greed and hatred and anger and so forth. And there's another wolf that represents love and compassion and kindness and so forth. And the grandson asks, because the grandfather's saying, these two wolves are fighting within you every day. And the grandson says, which one wins? And the grandfather says, the one you feed. Now let's take it to the next level. There's only one wolf. When you feed it, it's nice. When you don't feed it, it starts trying to fight for its survival.
Right.
So there is only one inclination. There is only good. There is only light. Things only radiate light. So there is light in the absence of light. There is one wolf. You can either be friends with it, or it can fight you to survive. Because if you ignore it, it doesn't have food, it doesn't have energy, it doesn't have attention, it doesn't have love. Like a kid who's not getting your attention and turns into a problem child, because it's the only way to get your attention. Because negative attention is better than no attention at all. Because we want attention. Why do we all want attention in our relationships? And we want to be paid attention, money, etc., respect, love. We want attention in our communities. We want to have some kind of role, some kind of acknowledgement. We want attention. That's all we ever want. It's the only thing that exists in the world, is that we want attention. We all want it so much from outside of us, especially when we're not getting it from ourselves. And then we're looking for it from others as though they can give us the attention we want. Because again, we're looking outside of us for God. Looking outside of us for the source of existence, for the source of fulfillment. But just to complete this thought and then go, that there's this, that ultimately the idea is that we want attention, and that if we get attention from ourselves, then we feel that we have attention because we're getting attention from the source that we actually want it from the ultimate source that we want it from. And so there is either giving ourselves attention or ignoring ourselves. When we give ourselves attention, we don't need to fight for our own survival. Our thoughts, feelings, instincts feel like they can be heard. They can just whisper. We hear. Or we're ignoring them, and they need to be screaming at the top of their lungs, throwing things at us in life, arguing with us through other people, giving us crazy circumstances, health problems, all sorts of things, just to try to get our attention. And so that's the wolf that hasn't been fed. So there's either you feed it or you don't feed it. There's no good and bad. There's only good and you not acknowledging that there is good, which leads to bad, to try to get your attention so that you can go back toward acknowledging what's good. I just want to let Chaim speak.
I mean, there is two basic needs for every person on the face on the earth. Right? The first one is everybody want to be heard, which is when you want to talk, you're looking for somebody to listen. The second one, you seek approval, whatever it is that you do. And when it starts when we are kids. Yeah? When we have brand new baby, yeah, we just can't wait until he walk and talk. When he starts to walk and talk, what we do? Sit down, keep your mouth shut. That's what we do. Now he got habit since he's kid not to talk. When he reached the point that he can talk, now everybody talk at the same time because everybody came from the same path. Now everybody talk over each other. Now nobody listen to anybody. Right? The second thing, when this kid start to grow up a little bit, he want to experience the world the way he want to experience that. We as an adult, we stop him. Don't do this, don't go there, don't do that. So he become expert what not to do. Right? Now, if he try to do something that he want to experience that, we punish him. You didn't listen to me. So he developed kind of mechanism not to be punished, so he do everything to justify what he does, that you approve that. This is another habit that he take with him since he kid. So when he grew up, he want to do something, he look around, who's approved me, who agree with me, who gonna come with me, otherwise I'm not gonna do it. So the two basically, it's kind of correlation to what you said, yeah? But on the practical, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Now we can stop it from beginning.
Right.
But we don't know that. So we just inherit that from our parent and we give it to our kid. But when we stop that, yeah, we can create different society. We can create different people.
Right. And the way we would stop that is that we would look at what we want instead of what we don't want. Rather than saying, don't do this, don't do that, when they're only wanting our attention, then we tell them what we'd like them to do. Then they can do what we'd like them to do and get our attention. Again, thinking of the world as our creation and we are the creator, all it wants is our attention, because that's existence itself. That's everything it wants. That's where fulfillment comes from. That's where life comes from. That's everything. So if we look at what we want, we're basically saying to our creation, if you do that for me, you make that happen, you give me that, I'll be really happy. And you'll get all this appreciation and gratitude and so forth from me, which is what your creation wants. More attention from you. Great. You know, obviously just like a kid wanting his parents' attention. So alternatively, you focus on what you don't want. You're not actually giving any indication to your creation or your pet or your child or your significant other or anyone about what you actually do want.
What if you don't know what you want?
Then you ask yourself, what would I like?
Okay.
Because your creation can let you know. Your GPS can give you an idea based on everything else you've asked for. You know, we can offer you some experiences and give you some possibility of determining what you want. But if you say, I just don't know what I want, and you leave it at that, that's your destination. I don't know what I want. As opposed to, I'd love some clarity about what I would like. And then you start to see things, and then you start to say, yeah, a little of that would be good, and that thing would be great, and I actually really want this. I didn't even realize I want this. But you can't do that until you're open to the experiences that can be offered to you, so you can see what you want.
I was just going to say, I believe that everybody really does know what they want, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah.
Whether they're willing to look at it and accept it or not. But I think everybody really, on some deep level, you know what it is you
You
want.
have to be connected to yourself, though. Right?
Yeah.
It's that we're actually getting something from staying in the confusion. And so we hold on to it, which is like what Shani was saying before, which I want to just bring back to because it's so related to this theme. Obviously, all of this discussion is about what it is to be powerful and what's holding us back from feeling powerful. And this connects back to what Shani was saying, that ultimately about the idea that we would want to hold on to our old beliefs because it gives us some sense of control.
And we ignore our feelings that are telling us that these beliefs are not necessarily accurate or true.
Because it seems like they're a threat to our control.
Mm-hmm.
And notice that this is confusing control and powerful.
Yeah.
Like, what is actual control? That's why in the meditation I was saying, being in control without exerting any control, without having to control anyone. That we're confusing control and powerful, that ultimately we try to hold on to the things that actually are negative, confusion, negativity, beliefs that are holding us back. We hold on to them because it gives us some illusion of control. We ignore our thoughts, our feelings, our instincts that are saying, no, that's not really what you want, because we're like,
it could be that way.
it could be this way, it could be that way, because then that's a threat to our control as the creator who is now in not a very positive place. You know, like, no, I need to be in control. I can't work with you because then I won't be in control. If you say this, you're threatening my control. Notice then it's like king and followers, and then you have rebellions. You don't want to force control by looking at what you don't want and then trying to force something different. You want to guide toward what you do want. And then you get willful, you get followers who want to follow you rather than followers who want to rebel against you. You don't need to fight with your servants, your messengers, your significant others, your friends, your pets. You don't need to fight with them to get control. True power comes from looking at what you actually want and guiding them toward that and encouraging them and motivating them and appreciating them and showing gratitude toward them and ourselves, because then we just go there because we're getting what we want. There's no need for any kind of battle or forcing of control. So forcing beliefs, forcing things to happen a certain way, holding on to confusion, these are all control. These are all attempts at control by exerting control, by looking at what we don't want and then trying to create something different.
Because we feel powerless.
Because we feel powerless, but really we only feel powerless because we're identifying with our creation, but we're trying to be the creator.
Right.
If we were connected to the actual creator within us, we'd feel powerful. We wouldn't feel like we need to assert any control. We'd just look where we want to go and everything would work out just fine. But when we're not identified with being the creator, but we're trying to be the creator, and this is the threat, this is the seemingly threatening thing to saying that in some way we are God, that the highest part of us is God. Because when you do that, then people start to think, oh, you're shrinking God down to me. I'm God? Like, you're getting rid of God if you're saying that I'm God. But then what happens is, then you're saying, so then people are going to like just try to control everything, thinking that they're God from this ego place, from this like, I should be in control of you because I am God. But that's not being God. That's not connecting with the God within you. That's being your creation and trying to be God. When we're really in tune with the idea of what it means to be connected with the source of existence, then we recognize that all we need to do is look a certain direction, and the whole world will accommodate us. We don't physically assert our control within the physical world. We guide the whole world from its origins in our internal workings, where we just look a certain direction. We give our attention to something. Then the world will start to shape to become that, And then that is what it is to be God, where we expand ourselves to God. We don't shrink God to us. So when we're actually connecting with the highest part of us, we're expanding ourselves to God. We're recognizing that we are not just this physical being, that we are everything, and that we transcend this, so we don't need to start trying to force things to happen here, because we could just guide them to be something else before they ever come here. This is just the crystallized form of everything. It started as a thought in your mind. You can't experience anything that didn't begin as a thought in your mind, fueled into being with a feeling, and then with instincts that led you to actions that led to things happening. Ultimately, if you recognize that everything began within you, and the world is just a mirror of the internal, the external is just a mirror of the internal, it's just a reflection, then we don't need to try to control anything anymore, because it doesn't make any sense. You don't force the reflection in the mirror to change. You change, and the reflection changes. You can try to change the reflection all you want, and it will not change if you try to change it directly. But if you change, the mirror must change what it's reflecting back at you. There is no other way it could be. And so when we recognize this, we don't need to force control. We simply are powerful.
It's touching upon two quotes that I heard that I thought were very meaningful, and maybe you will too. One is that if you save one person in the world, you're saving a whole world, because each person is a world unto themselves.
Yeah.
And they, even if they were a twin, and they go their different ways during the day, they know people that the other person doesn't know. So each person has their own world and is a world. And the other thing that I learned and thought was so meaningful, and I thought was really very special to hear, made me feel very good, is that purpose of the world, and of course everyone has their religions and thoughts, but I thought this was beautiful, is that each person is unique. There's no other, whether it be twin, triplets, doesn't matter. You are unique, and you have your own purpose in the world, and you're supposed to lift up your portion of the world. So wherever you find yourself, wherever you go, you're meant to do a good deed, or make a smile, or do a kindness. And through that, you are lifting up the world, your world, and your portion of the world.
Okay.
That gives you a goal in life, that gives you satisfaction to know, I am a partner in this world. God gave me, entrusted me, or whatever you want to say, entrusted me with a purpose in this world to uplift it to a dwelling place for God and mankind, peacefully.
I did talk in Ireland, and after the talk it was Q&A. So one of the questions that I was asked is how what I'm doing, it's relating into religious. And I bring it that way. I mean, God gave us the Bible. What is the Bible? It's a contract between God and you. Just mean everything written. He tells you what he wants you to be, and develop your talent. And here's this series of story of other people, what happened in their life. Now find what's fit for you and go ahead and do it. The point is, you need to write contract back to God if you want to make something in your life, which is me. This is me. This is who I am, and that's what I'm intending to do. That people are gonna benefit from my talent. Now your talent, you know that. You know your talent. Yeah? You don't here is come to seek approval from other people from what you want. And this is the reason nobody in the world make the right decision. Nobody. What you do, you make your decision right. When you decide to do something, you go ahead and do it. And see how does that work for you. Yeah? People will talk if you do or you're not. So do. Yeah? Now when you do good, you're gonna start to get followers. When you become a leader, you create something to this world. Right? That's what God wants you to do. That's the way I see it, the Bible. The whole world's around that.
It's in Plato's dialogue, the Euthyphro, the question arises: Does God love something because it's beloved, or is it beloved because God loves it? And now it's interesting because this question is sort of everywhere all around us. Is something popular because we like it, or do we like it because it's popular? Is something good because we decide it's good, or do we decide it's good because it's good? Is it right because we decide it's right, or do we decide it's right and then it's right? So ultimately, what's the causative relationship? And ultimately, the answer is, well, my answer, but it's the answer. But the thing is, the answer, no, and I don't mean this like egoically. I mean like you'll see why it is actually the answer, and it's just that people have, it's like once you actually see the whole picture, then you can see that this is the answer, and there's really no other way to see it. Because everything in this world is developing from the bottom up. You know, first we're born, first there's something, we're born, let's say, then there are instincts, then feelings, then thoughts, then choice. Like psychologically, like there's very like self-orientedness, I want now. Then there's like adolescence, like who am I in relation to others? Now there are others out there and feelings and empathy and everything. And then there's like, how do I make the best decisions for myself and other individuals when we realize that others are benefiting from different things than we are. And then we get to the early to mid-20s, prefrontal cortex is finally fully developed, the brain is developing through all this time as well, and ultimately then the prefrontal cortex at this point is fully developed, and we're capable of the greatest capacity for choice, where we can weigh the pros and cons of our actions, be self-aware of our actions, and ultimately this pattern follows where we can tie all this together, and then I can connect this back in reaction also, where if someone yells at you, you might be immediately, you know, something happens, then you might immediately yell back. Then if there's more awareness, you notice the inclination to yell back before you yell back. Then if there's more awareness, you notice the feeling that gave rise to that inclination, you know, like anger. Then if there's more awareness, then you notice the thoughts that gave rise to that feeling. Why is this person yelling at me? This person's getting me angry. And then if there's more awareness, then you notice the ability to choose to change those thoughts, which can lead to a different feeling, which can lead to a different inclination, which can lead you to act differently, which leads to a different result. So, and this happens in the brain also, that the signal, in the development of the brain, first there's the brainstem and spinal cord, then there's the limbic system, like memory centers, amygdala, hippocampus, emotion centers, and memory centers, and then we get to the cortices, the thought centers, and then we get to the prefrontal cortex. This is the order that our brain develops in. It's also the order that in evolution that the brain is supposedly developing and everything. And so everything's developing in this order. And ultimately, then what happens is, like in the pattern of reaction, we choose to respond from the top down. So everything reacts from the bottom up in this reaction place. Everything develops from the bottom up, and we create from the top down. So we're basically all just evolving to encompass the full pattern by which everything is being created. So now when we look at it from this perspective, why is something good? Because we choose for it to be good. From a creating place, because we choose for it to be good. This is going to be good. Like Chaim said, you know, we do something, we make it right. That is from the creative place. But from this world place, from development, from reaction, we're inclined to think it's right, and so I do it. So it's either that you do it, and so it becomes right, which is the creation order, which is actually always the order that things are occurring in, but we're not always conscious of it. And then there's the development order, that it is right, and so we do it. So again, then the question, like in every other area, is it popular because we like it, or do we like it because it's popular? Well, from a creative order, we like it, and so it becomes popular. But from a development order, from a reaction place in this world, things are popular, and so people like them. So everything is like this, that we determine our experience. We determine what is reality, and then it is that way. But from a this world perspective, we're inclined to react and respond to what already is. And then things are that way, and we respond to them being that way, as opposed to us creating what they will be, and then having other people respond to the fact that they are that way. Because we're the ones initiating, instead of only being the ones reacting. What were you going to say, Shani?
Oh, I just wanted to say, from a this world perspective, we assume that there's automatically, you know, certain aspects of, like, unconditional, like people should have unconditional love to these people, or people should have unconditional caring for these people. Like, we automatically assume that that's how it is. But what we lose sight of the fact is that nothing is unconditional, really, believe it or not, unless we give it to ourselves. So if we don't love ourselves unconditionally, we actually cannot love even those closest to us unconditionally until we give whatever we're trying to give to other people, we want to give it to ourselves first.
And this is true for everything, obviously, from this world, we are looking for things. we are looking outside of us. We're looking for God, we're looking for fulfillment, we're looking for what's popular, what's good, what's right, where is the love going to come from, where's the respect going to come from, where are the answers to my questions going to come from. But from a creation perspective, we're already at the source of all that. So we start there. Instead of working toward there, we're starting from that point. So then we're the ones who determine what the answer is going to be like, and then see what the answer is that arises from, not from a place of searching, but from a place of knowing that we've already found it. It's already there. Now let's see what it is. You know, so that we're looking for, that instead of looking for God, we are finding God. We recognize God is. I am here. I already see what that's like. We're already there. And that, you know, that we are the initiator instead of the responder. And that's the point, that we are the initiator, that we determine that we are loved because we are loving ourselves. So we feel loved. And then everyone else ends up loving us because we're coming from this place of already feeling loved, and we interact with people in a way that leads them to love us. And that we're coming from a place of, I am happy, rather than looking for happiness outside us. Trying to find it, not knowing where it is. Is it under this rock? Is this person going to lead me to happiness, this relationship, whatever?
Unconditionally what we're not giving to ourselves.
Right, and it always starts with us, yeah.
I had a few questions here and there, and I guess I forgot some of them. But let's say, for example, Robin Williams, well liked, he didn't like himself.
Yeah, because it is possible.
So sad.
Because it is possible to, because obviously what was happening there, or obviously, well, ultimately when you understand his personality, you understand what was going on inside his head, to some degree, obviously, and not completely, but in the Enneagram, he was a 7-6, and so 7s are inclined to,
What do you
in
mean?
the Enneagram personality type system,
What?
so I'll understand. Okay. Basically, you don't need to understand that.
Okay.
I'm just saying that so that for anyone who does know, which isn't really anyone here except Shani, but whatever. So the whole point is that so the way he was inclined to operate internally, because we all have our own relationship to our thoughts, our feelings, our instincts. He was inclined based on his personality, which obviously we could say based on his personality, or we could say he was like that and then his personality became that, whatever. Forget that question for a moment. Because ultimately we're in this world because we are reacting to some degree to things. We're not completely initiating and creating, or we wouldn't even be here anymore. But ultimately, so we all have a relationship to our thoughts, our feelings, our instincts. We could be tuning them out. We could be ignoring them for the sake of sharing them with others. We could be dismissing them because we feel like they should be different than they are. We could be tuning them out and just listening to other people's thoughts, feelings, and instincts. But anyway, so to get into a concrete, so like his main personality type, he was inclined to dismiss his feelings, his thoughts, dismiss his thoughts of fulfillment. So basically that he was always looking for things to be more exciting, more fun, more fulfilling than they were, and always feeling like it wasn't enough. That they weren't exciting enough, they weren't fulfilling enough, because he was inclined to look at how he wasn't fulfilled yet. That he wasn't excited enough yet. That things weren't fun enough yet. He wasn't happy enough yet. What?
Perfection is not
Well, it's I mean, it is a sort of perfectionism, but it's that he was always inclined to look forward to the future, and he would want to imagine that things would be exciting and that they would be fulfilling, but he'd be more inclined, because he was more stressed and not in as good a place, he was more inclined to see how they might not be fulfilling. And then he would feel trapped. He'd feel like, I'm going to be bored, I'm going to be trapped, like this is going to be terrible, that's going to be terrible, and that's going to be terrible, and that's going to be unfulfilling, and that's going to make me unhappy, and I don't see anything that's make me happy. But obviously, when you're looking at how everything might make you unhappy, then you don't see how things can make you happy, which makes you feel trapped, which makes you feel like confined, and it's torturous when you get really extremely into that. Obviously, we all have our own version of self-torture in that sense, but ultimately, so his inclination was to look at what would make him unhappy, and then not be able to see that things could make him happy because he's too busy looking at what would make him unhappy. Again, like looking at the pole in order to avoid it, he was inclined to look at what would make him unhappy so he could avoid those experiences. But when you're looking at what makes you unhappy, then at some point everything looks like it makes you unhappy, and there's nowhere to go. And it just feels like you're completely confined, and then his experience of reality would be like deprived and trapped in pain and unhappiness. And this like intense boredom of there's not enough excitement, fulfillment, etc. But what ends up happening is, because he was treating his own thoughts of fulfillment as though they were unfulfilling, Because that's essentially what was happening. It's not that there were unhappy thoughts. There was one wolf, and he wasn't feeding it. The wolf was saying, everything could be great. You could be happy. You could be happy doing this, that, and the other thing. And he's like, that's not fulfilling, because that won't lead me to be aware of what to avoid so I can guarantee fulfillment. So I'm not going to look at the things that I already know are making me happy. I want to make sure I avoid the things that are going to make me unhappy so I can guarantee happiness. But you see how counter, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, it's easier to understand it when you're thinking about, like, if things are bad, then we look at them to try to fix them. And if we look at what's good, then it's like, well, why would I look at what's good? That's already good. I need to look at what's bad so I can fix it. So it's like, I see what would make me happy. So I don't need to look at that. I need to make sure that there's nothing that would make me unhappy. So I need to make sure I find the things that make me unhappy so I can make sure that I can avoid those things and ensure happiness. But you see, all that does is it's a recipe for finding bad, for finding unhappiness, because that's all you're looking at. And once you look at it, you've already welcomed it into your experience. It's already there. As soon as you focus on it, you experience it. So you see how weird it is that we would even look at what makes us unhappy, what's bad, what's unfulfilling, what's stressful, what's frustrating, what we're regretting. Why would we do that when all we really want is to feel good, and we are guaranteeing that we will feel bad because we're looking at the things that make us feel bad and then saying, I don't want these.
Or our fears.
You're entertaining it.
Yeah, it's like we're entertaining it, we're bringing it into us, we're feeding it, and so we're actually guaranteeing that is what's in our experience. It's already in our experience. As soon as we focus on it, it's already there.
We focus on our fears, we bring it into our
Exactly,
life.
we focus on our fears, we bring them. So ultimately, so I just want to point out. So then, what was happening there is that then he would be in this place where it's like there's nothing he could do to escape unhappiness. And then he'd try more ways to escape unhappiness and try to be more fulfilling, more fun, because ultimately what's happening, then he ends up acting the way his thoughts are acting to him in relation to other people. His thoughts were like, how can we try to be fulfilling enough to him? Because nothing is fulfilling enough to him. Nothing gets his attention. No matter what we do,
It's very easy to see
enough.
how that can lead to alcohol and drug abuse.
Exactly.
Very
Well, that does happen in that type, that they would be inclined, depending on other aspects of the personality, to be seeking out any kind of escape, adrenaline rushes, anything, just to try to be fulfilled, and ultimately what ends up happening is that they're running away from unfulfillment instead of running toward fulfillment. And so it's like they're constantly running away, and there's no way you can get away.
Mm-hmm.
And so you feel like it's like if you have nagging kids chasing after you, and instead of just stopping, listening to what they have to say, and then letting them go on, they just keep chasing, you keep running away. And the more you run away, the more they chase you. And then at some point, they back you into a corner, and if you're not ready to listen to them, then it's torturous. It's like they just start bombarding you, and there's nothing you can do about it. But if you just listen, they'll go away. But we don't operate that way when we're stressed. We think, I don't want to listen. I don't want to pay attention. I don't like where I am in my life. I don't want to be here, which is where meditation is so powerful that we're inclined to avoid it when we're stressed. because meditating would mean being present to our lives, and we're trying to avoid them. Being present to our thoughts, feelings, and instincts, and we're trying to avoid them. And then when we're trying to avoid them, they're chasing after us more, trying new ways to get our attention. And so obviously you could see in Robin Williams how much his thoughts were trying to get his attention, how much they were trying to be fulfilling to him, but then they would never feel like anything they do is enough to get his attention. And so then he would feel like nothing he does is enough to get enough attention to make it that he would be fulfilled. And then it seems like, you're completely trapped and there's no escape. And then obviously, try to find some kind of escape.
I do know one thing about him. He was very instrumental in helping financially and encouragement to that actor that was Superman. What was his name?
Christopher Reeves.
He was he alone supported him. And when he probably saw the pain and suffering he went through, and I heard that he himself found out he had Parkinson's. He just probably didn't want to go in that place.
Yeah,
But we should never know from it. But the point is, and not be a burden maybe to people, that he didn't know that every instant, it says, every moment that a person's alive gives to the world, not only to himself. He did not acknowledge how important and how great he really was, and important he would be to continue to be alive. And that's the heartbreak. Everybody felt like what a waste, what a pity that we weren't there for him.
Yeah.
He lifted us up in our lives.
Yeah.
But in that moment, he didn't see how important he was to stay on this earth longer and the good he could have continued to bring. It was a real shame. And may no one go through that or do that. They should know they're very important. And every moment they're alive, it's a gift from God, and to do all the best. Just being there is very important.
Although it's worth noting that obviously it would have been better in some way if he were here.
Right.
But looking back, knowing that he's not, he actually did us a service at that time, because he took our attention away from focusing on like the war in the Middle East and everything else. We were all so consumed in all these negative things in the world. And then he died, and suddenly everyone was like, we should be more acknowledging of the good things we have when we have them.
He didn't
Like
acknowledge
suddenly,
himself.
yeah, he didn't acknowledge
That
himself,
was
but
the whole
it's interesting because his not acknowledging himself so much to such a
His
degree
importance.
got everyone to recognize how extremely we weren't acknowledging ourselves at that time.
That's right.
And it was, and so in many ways, even though like it would have been a greater gift if he had stayed around, he still gave us this final, very powerful gift that we could recognize that someone who could seem so happy on the surface, in some ways, that we could look at them as the source of our happiness. That we must actually acknowledge the good things when we have them, because if we don't, then they fade away, they die. It's like, again, it's the wolf, we want to feed the good and not the bad, because we will lose the good if we don't feed it and acknowledge it and make sure that it knows it's appreciated, and that's within us and within the world. And it doesn't make sense to be knowing that, to be focusing on the war or the negativity within ourselves or in the world, because that is not feeding the good. That lets the good die and allows the bad to flourish, and then we lose the good things, like Robin Williams, and then we wonder, what were we doing that we didn't acknowledge that as much as we could have while we had it?
I'm thinking of something he said that to this day I still crack up. He did Mrs. Doubtfire, and when he was dressing up and Harvey Fierstein was getting him into different costumes, and one of the costumes on his way to be Mrs. Doubtfire was this old Jewish woman with a babushka on her head. And he said in the movie theater, he says, did you see this?
Yeah.
Where he says, never take ribbonous from a moil. And everybody who was Jewish in the whole place, we cracked up, and to this day I remember that. Never take ribbonous from a moil. In that, you're not laughing. I think it's hysterical.
He's trying to get it.
I'm trying to understand what gribbiness is.
You don't know what gribbiness is?
No.
It's like, what's gribbiness? It's like
It's chicken skin.
It's chicken
Oh,
skin.
oh,
It's like the skin of
it's
the rind.
reduced down
That's
chicken skin.
Yeah.
It was absolutely, but he was so quick. He was so quick.
Yeah.
Some of the things he
No,
said.
when we look at that, everybody has self-image. That we live up to that. Now it's developing action that we take to fill it up. And that's exactly what you start to say about condition. We live in conditioned life. Everything that we want to make, we put condition on. If that's going to happen, then I'm going to do it. Now we wait for the whole star to be aligned for us to take action. And it's not, we get the right time, I will do it. And there is no right time. There is the only time is now.
That is true. That's it.
Yeah.
Just different thoughts coming to mind. Basically, you could have certain feelings, like just like, we shouldn't be compared, but Robin Williams, like maybe he didn't determine like what's right or fulfillment, and I feel like there should be guidance and guidelines in life and to guide what's the right feelings. It's not just feeling. Like you could feel like you want to eat all day, but it's not good for you. So like,
But that would never
there's
feel
right
good.
and wrong.
It would never feel good.
You know
When you
what I mean?
actually,
Like,
when you
there's right
actually,
and wrong that comes to play, and then the
There is
ego
no right or
inclination
wrong.
that also can come to play. It's not all feeding what you
but
want.
when you
desire.
actually listen to yourself, you wouldn't be eating all day. When you actually listen to yourself, then you would realize that you would naturally tend toward balance.
Right, I'm not
because
just talking about eating.
no, I know, but I'm not
In
just
life
saying
and
eating.
making
But I'm
decisions
saying
and
in everything
relationships.
you're getting those guidelines from your own internal
When you
GPS.
listen
Like
to
we're
yourself.
off. Yeah, when you listen to yourself, those guidelines are being provided to you every step of the way. As opposed to
But
like
Robin
often.
Williams listened to himself and look what he
That's
No,
said.
but he
saying
wasn't listening to
You
himself.
don't
Didn't
have
listen
the
to
right.
himself.
That was no.
feeling.
What I'm
Yeah.
saying is he was not listening to himself.
That's
It's not
why
the
she's
right
saying
feelings. It's that
guidelines.
it's that he
Right.
was looking at what made him unhappy, which was not listening to himself. If he had looked at what made him happy, I mean, and you think about it. Obviously, if you're thinking that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's and like obviously he saw Christopher Reeves and where that went, then he was so future oriented the way that because his personality, that's the way he was thinking. So he'd always be. That's why he was so quick with things because he's always a step ahead. So people like that, when they're reading, they read very quickly. They like leap forward and like skip words, and it's very interesting to see how people read. Like people who are past oriented tend to read more slowly, and it's because they're too busy thinking about what they just read. And people who are future oriented, they're reading quickly because they're always leaping ahead to what they're about to read. And people who are present oriented, they're reading, but it's like this very sort of deliberate, sometimes spaced out. Sometimes the intonation is not completely right because they're not fully there.
They get
Obviously,
lost in the book.
Yeah, they get well. It depends on how present.
Really?
No, it's if you're a healthy, mindful present, it's a different story. But there's present and tuned out. There's past and regretting, and there's future and worrying, and then there's the healthy version of all that. There's being present and mindful. And then you read deliberately and like you're present and the reading comes through that you're present to it. And then when you're present and mindful, then you learn from the past. You're not dwelling in it, so you don't keep replaying it while you're trying to keep reading. And then the future ends up being that you're intending that it's going to go well and there's like this anticipation, but it's positive. And so you're not skipping words. You're going one step at a time and getting to like and having a good read. So the thing is with this picture, so he was so future-oriented. Robin Williams was so future-oriented because his main type was looking forward, wanting fulfillment, but anticipating unhappiness. His secondary type was looking forward and worrying about all the ways things could be bad, like that it could go wrong, that it could not go the way that he would want, and that like every decision he makes, that like everything is pivotal on this. And so when he's in that place
Your
of...
phone says something.
It doesn't matter if it
lack of
turns
control,
off.
he felt.
So the point is that in the ideal we would recognize that we want to be present in the healthiest way, where we're learning from the past and creating the future. And he was inclined, when he was stressed, as we all are in the negative, to be worrying about the future and anticipating it's not going to be good. And then obviously, we don't feel in control when we're in that place. Just like any negative experience, we end up not feeling in control, because we end up identifying with our creation as things happen to us. We're not identifying with creating our lives. We're identifying with our lives affecting us, and we just have to react to it. And it seems like it's getting worse and worse as we stay in that mindset. And so then obviously he would look forward and he'd see Parkinson's, look at Christopher Reeves. I don't want to be there. That would be terrible. And obviously he was already stressed out. I mean, he already had like his own history of things. So he was already anticipating being unhappy. That would just take it a whole other level. You're like, that's too much. I don't want to go there. That would be so trapped in myself.
According to what you asked about guideline, it's like, imagine the world is a big restaurant that you walk in, you have the menu. You eat what you love, it's not what I love. There is no guideline.
I mean, what's healthy for you is
You
different
pick
than
from
what
the
you want to
menu.
eat. Like,
No, but you would know.
You
what
will
would
pick
help.
from the menu what you love,
Yeah.
not what I love.
But you would end up eating the things that are healthy for you if you actually listen to yourself. You eat what's not healthy for you when you're saying, I should be eating certain things, and then you don't want to. And then you want to eat the things that are not good for you to rebel against the things you should be eating. But if you said, I would love to feel good, then you'll eat things that make you feel good, which wouldn't be only unhealthy things, because that wouldn't lead you to feel good. So the idea is that you would be clear about what you ultimately want to feel. Not like, I want fleeting pleasure in the moment. That comes from, I've been controlling toward myself, and I need an escape. We don't want to be in the dynamic of, I've been controlling and I need an escape. That's what leads to what you're saying, where then everything we do that we want is bad. Because then our escapes are escapes. Our wants are escapes from what we feel we should do. When there are no shoulds, then there's no escape. And then there's simply, I would love to do this, and then we actually do what's good for us.
So the bottom line is there are no rules. Everybody has their own truth. And the way to get that is to look inside and to get clear on what your feelings are, that in the what's going to lead you to the best place in your life for this moment. I mean, you can't do it forever. I don't think.
Let's say you have like
No,
short spirits of time.
No, well, you intend how you'd like to feel in the future, and then you see what you're led to in each moment.
Right,
That
hopefully
leads
it's
to
good
that.
things.
Well, no, but if you're
Help the
intending good feelings for the future, then it must be good things.
Like, let's say you have a reaction to maybe somebody not being that considerate,
Mm-hmm.
or you feel like you're deserving of something halfway decent in the norm of our society. So that reaction can, so obviously your reflection cause an effect. So that can affect your relationship with that person for good.
But your reaction is only happening because you're reacting to yourself for treating yourself the same way as that other person is treating you, or you wouldn't be reacting because you wouldn't be sensitive to it. Because if you don't have an open wound, then someone throwing salt at you won't hurt. If someone throws salt at you and you don't have an open wound, then you'd be like, what are you doing? But if someone throws salt at you and you have an open wound, you'd be like, why would you do that?
No, not reacting in a harsh way. Just like, it's an example that I have to, I guess it's a personal.
Because it is about you. Because ultimately the
general.
fact is that you're treating yourself the way you're reacting because you're treating yourself how you feel other people
I
are
feel
treating
like somebody not mistreated me, but maybe didn't treat me with like a certain respect or something. I have to discuss it.
Then you want to ask yourself how you haven't been treating yourself with respect in a similar way, because that has been happening, or you wouldn't have gotten that mirrored in the mirror of reality. And then you're reacting because you're feeling the way your thoughts, feelings, instincts are feeling in reaction, the way your creation is feeling in reaction to you treating yourself without respect.
Right, so an interesting thing that you said, I'm sorry, it's all that
No,
me.
It's okay. It's okay.
Like you said that you dumped the person that, is not good enough for you in a relationship wise, or the job that's not, satisfying enough. So basically, you can't channel it, like work with the same person or the same job, but enhance that. You feel that we have to just get rid of.
Well, the way you're
Give
saying
up?
it, it's a reaction. So I would not do what you're saying because when you're reacting, it's not good. It's never good. You don't just dump someone because it's not fulfilling enough to you. You try to change your internal experience based on what's being reflected back at you. You see how you're treating yourself those ways. You change that. When you get to a place where you're like, okay, I see that I've taken this as far as it can go, and it's still not what I want. Like, I have changed these things, and now I realize that the only thing that's keeping me here is not listening to myself, because right now it feels like it would be better to move on. But you don't get to that place when you're just unhappy, because you're unhappy because you're treating yourself in the ways that the person's treating you. You don't just flee that, because then it's escape from your own control. You change how you're treating yourself. You get to a place where you're like, okay, this is okay now, but it's not as good as I know that I could experience in a relationship. And if you get to that place, then you say, okay, now it's time to move on. Not because I'm running away from this, where I'm still treating myself this way, and I'll jump into another relationship where I'm treated this way.
But
So
Jonathan, you're talking.
is there limits? Like with hope, as far as
There are
fixing
limits.
a relationship.
There are
You're
limits,
talking philosophy. She's talking
Yeah, no,
practicality.
this is
Yeah.
this is
No,
practicality.
no, but I'm saying in any
There is a
relationship,
fine
a romantic relationship, a friendship relationship, there are negotiations. If someone, obviously, they're getting something themselves out of treating her a certain way that might not be the way she wants or expects to be treated, you can talk to somebody, you can say, like you say to a child, you don't take something away and scream at the child, or you're a roommate, you say, when you leave dishes in the sink, I find it very hard or inconsiderate because I have to do them before I eat. In other words, it's a negotiation.
But you're missing the point.
Yeah.
Because it's not a relationship with another person as much as it's a relationship with yourself, and you're missing that point. Because when you keep trying to steer the other person toward what you want, but you're still treating yourself the way they're treating you, then the mirror won't change.
Yeah, but okay, so I'm saying that you should treat yourself the way you want to be treated by others. That's I think it's a given. But, she's a young, it's...
And then what?
It's learning.
No, and then what?
But the bottom line is, if the person is you need to talk to the person.
No, first you talk to yourself.
Right.
Then you talk to the person. Then you see, am I getting what I want now that I'm giving it to myself? And if that person can't be a mirror of this new positive dynamic with yourself, then you move on. But if the person can be a mirror of this new positive dynamic with yourself, then you stay.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah, Shani.
So what I'm thinking is that a lot of times when we really don't treat ourselves well, we not, even the people who normally treat us well, they won't treat us so well either. So like we may, when we're treating ourselves okay, we may have it might not be as enhanced, so to speak, that other people are not treating us well. But when we're really not treating ourselves well, then it's like, it's obvious to ourselves in a way if we're really clear about it because of how other people are really treating ourselves too. Like even the people who are normally positive messengers to ourselves are going to, in a way, not treat ourselves positively because they're not really able to receive that because we're not treating ourselves positively. Regardless of that one person who may be constantly pressing your buttons, it's going to be everyone around you because that's what you're sort of putting out there.
Well, I'm talking like there are, let's say, guys that like, I don't know if you know.
I probably
Some people that you don't happen to like feel like it's a match, but they sort of have interest in you, and the people you find interest in are not necessarily.
That's a reflection of you.
Right.
That's a reflection of you. That means
it's
that.
It's not like I have nobody that likes me.
No, but this means you're getting the wrong kind of attention from yourself.
Right, I'm attracting the wrong.
No, because you're getting the wrong kind of attention from yourself. Because you're focusing on this. You're focusing on the belief, on the reality that you've already seen, which is really just a reality that you've created, and you could create something different going forward, which is that you only get the wrong guys interested in you. The ones you're not interested in, the ones you are interested in are not interested in you. But that ultimately means it's not just isolated to relationships. That belief would need to change, but this means it's a reflection of other areas of your life also where you're getting the wrong kind of attention from yourself. You're focusing on the wrong things in your life. And if you were focusing on what you actually want in your life, in other areas, a career, family, whatever it is, I don't know because I didn't speak with you. But if we were to actually look at what else is happening in your life that is a reflection of that, where you're on the other end of that dynamic, because we're always on both ends in ourselves. So we look at, in this area, you're getting the wrong attention from the wrong guys, the ones you're not interested in, and the ones you do like, you're not getting attention from. So ultimately, that means your thoughts, feelings, instincts are feeling from you, like they're not getting attention from you where they want your attention, and they are getting attention from you when they're doing things that they don't feel like this is where you should be giving them attention for, or they're getting attention from other people but not from you. And so ultimately, like if we were to zero in on exactly what is happening in your life, then you'd see it's much more obvious. But ultimately, you're also playing out the end of the dynamic where in other areas of your life where you're giving attention to the wrong things, and then you're getting attention for the wrong things from the wrong people and so forth. And if you were to change that, you were to give attention to the things you actually want in other areas where your attention should be, if you were listening to your own GPS, then you would actually get attention from the right guys. If you were paying attention to what you really feel you want in other areas and in relationships, then that would get reflected back.
Right, maybe what I feel is not necessarily healthy or right. Like, let's say there's a guy who is, has been deprived in his own life, but maybe I seek to be in that relationship, be more helpful to him or loving to him.
Well, that wouldn't be a healthy dynamic.
But, so I'm saying, maybe, he's missing something, and I sort of
You would bring those people in, yeah.
Yeah.
Because ultimately what that means is that you're not helping yourself enough.
Right.
Because we're inclined to try to help others when our thoughts, feelings, instincts are really trying to help us. And we're misinterpreting what they're saying, and we give them away, and then we feel unappreciated and uncared for in return and unimportant in return because we're giving away the help. And so we don't feel loved, we feel unloved and unappreciated as we're giving away what has been offered to us.
It's like what you said, like when you have a really healthy dynamic or a healthy connection, you bring out the best in the other person, you bring out what's good in the other person without really, needing anything for yourself. Like it's really like you're making each other feel good. But when you're not in that healthy place, you can't have those type of people who are going to be in your life because you're not bringing it to yourself.
It's come to the point that when we need or have or want, when you need, you become needy.
Right.
Nobody like needy people.
Yeah.
When you have to have, it's fear driven. When you want, it's freedom driven. It's totally different dynamic. Now, in life in general, things happen all day long. We react or we respond to that. When people react, they are on a negative end. When you respond, which is mean, wait a minute, where I go from here?
Right.
Which is much different. I mean, on the practical side, where I go from here.
But ultimately, every way in which you want to help others, help yourself. Then you'll get people you actually want. And that's where the attention is being misdirected in yourself, because you're giving attention to other people when your attention should be on you. And so then you're getting attention from the wrong people, because you're not in the place where you're saying, I'm helping me, I'm loving me, come in and treat me that way. You're saying, I'm not there for me, I'm here for you. Then they're there for them, or not there for them because they're not capable of being, and you're there for them, and no one's there for you. So you should be the highest priority. You help you in all the ways you feel you should be helping them, and then you'll get the relationship you want.
Right. And it's gotta be mutual.
Your old team.
And she said it's gotta be
It's gotta be
mutual.
mutual.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, but it will be mutual.
It will be mutual.
It will be mutual. When you
Fun.
give to yourself, when you're the highest priority,
Right.
you become the highest priority to another person.
When it's really
In a way that they're the highest priority to themselves, you're the highest
Exactly.
priority to yourself, and then you can actually be there for the other because you're not needing anything in return. And whatever you give to the other is from a place of I'm there for me,
exactly.
and I don't need anything from you. So I'm going to be there for you in the ways you actually want, rather than trying to force help on you when you don't really want it. Because I need to be helpful to you, and I need your appreciation, even though you don't want
It's
this.
a different perspective than Dr. Phil. Because
Yeah.
he says like 50 or 100%, you know, each, like, you know, spouse.
Right. No, this is a
Yeah,
good
no, it should be 100% to you.
Yeah.
And then when you do that, then it's
Going back to
natural.
first.
It's natural
feels good.
that
It
that
feels good.
You live your life. You don't live the life that. If you want to live the life that you want to be, make action toward that. Change yourself to what you want to be. This is the image, the self-image that you built. Yeah. You want to live that life. Start to take action. Start to behave as that person. And we say that fake it until you make it. Here is the thing. You can fake what you don't know. How you can do that?
right. Imagine it as though it's real, and then you can
You
step into it.
practice.
You make it
When
real.
you practice,
it.
you make it permanent.
But rehearse it in your mind, and it becomes familiar before you actually do it. Then you start practicing it, becomes familiar, becomes real, becomes your identity.
And I always say, if you see someone that you admire, and not everyone has everything you admire, pick those things and try to emulate or learn from what they do.
Right.
And then, like he said, practice it,
Yeah.
you know, and then it becomes real, yours.
I just want to pause right now because I want to make it possible for everyone to go who needs to go. So I just want to quickly do like a 3-minute meditation where we're just going to reaffirm these destinations, and then anyone who wants to go can go, and then we can continue whatever discussion for anyone who still wants to be here.
Okay.
So we're just going to quickly.
And even if we go, we don't really want to go.
Right, we're not. Well,
But
You still
well, no.
I was supposed to go.
But then you
But
redirect.
I end up staying.
Yeah, but they're supposed to go, which leads you to rebel.
That's something else.
Well, that's the point. So, so if you actually wanted to go, it'd be a different story. So we're gonna just take a few deep breaths, close your eyes, and just be present to your breathing. Now step back into that feeling of being powerful, of feeling powerful. That feeling of being in control without needing to assert any control. Imagine feeling that in the coming days and weeks and months in your body, in your health. And imagine feeling powerful when it comes to your living situation. And imagine feeling powerful when it comes to your career. Imagine feeling powerful when it comes to your financial situation. Imagine feeling powerful when it comes to your family situation. And imagine feeling powerful when it comes to your community. Imagine feeling powerful when it comes to your friendships, your close connections with other people. Imagine feeling powerful when it comes to your relationship area of life. Imagine feeling that vibration of energy all over your body, feeling totally present and grounded, like everything is perfect as it is, good as it is, right as it is, that there is harmony between what you want and what is, that everything is exactly what you want it to be, increasingly in every moment, and that you need only look a certain direction, request something, and it comes into being. That you focus on what you want, and the world accommodates you. The mirror changes what it's reflecting back at you, and you feel that power, that you need not assert any control. And the world is simply what you want it to be. You wake up each day with this feeling of being powerful. You go throughout this day, throughout the day, throughout every day with this feeling of being powerful. And you come back and go to sleep with this feeling of being powerful. Aware that you are the creator of your experience. And creating what you want is effortless. Take that feeling of being powerful with you. You can return to this room, to this moment. Slowly open your eyes whenever you're ready. And now, whenever anyone wants to go, obviously now we've brought it to some kind of conclusion.
Can I say something?
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming, Steve.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Could I say something?
Yeah.
I just want to say that no one's atoning someone taking their life, because it's written that the one who does that takes away from the ultimate plan of God for that person in the world. So hopefully everyone be well and live and know that their purpose is important, and not to go through pain or suffering, but not to make pain or suffering either to those around them or the world. By
We
living a good life.
Yeah. Amen.
Thank you.
Should I help pull up the chairs?
No, I can do that.
This is very beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
For all of you,
Really
each
good.
one
I like
who
your blue.
participated.
Thank you for
Also,
contributing
yeah.
to
Oh, yeah.
That's what
Relaxing
Yeah,
trees.
that was your
Right,
idea.
it's true.